it like that, and I'm going to keep it with myself forever afterwards. Her date of birth is 9th December 1938. So she is 78 years old. She's written it in her own handwriting for me to keep it with her, with myself. She passed her MBBS from CMC Ludhiana in 1962, just 1 year after I was born. I was born in 61. So she's such a towering persona for me. After marriage, she went to Nairobi, East Africa and worked there for 6 months in King George VI Hospital. She then went to Dublin, Ireland and worked in Our Lady's Hospital for sick children, and there she passed her DCH exam. She worked in a famous maternity hospital, Coombs Line in hospital in Dublin, and passed her DRCOG exam. She then moved to London and worked in Mothers Hospital, Salvation Army Hospital, and then in South London Hospital for 1 year in gynecology under Dr. Jocelyn Moore, who also worked in Royal Free Hospital, London. In 1969, after obtaining her MRCOG, she and her husband getting his FRCS, they moved to India. She got her FRCOG in 1989. Her first job in India was in Firozpur Francis Newton Hospital in 1971, a hospital where my mother had also worked at some time. My mother was also a graduate of CMC Ludhiana, so there is so much bonding. Where she faced the bombing during the war with Pakistan in 1971. They moved to Jalandhar in 1972, and then she started her own private practice. She went to UK to learn IVF at Bramhall Clinic, which was run by Patrick Steptoe, who later was rewarded with the Nobel Prize. I think that is a rare honor for someone from India. She, along with Dr. Malvinder Kaur, Dr. Mrs. Dang, Dr. Mrs. Randhawa, and Dr. Paramjeet Kaur and Dr. Sapna Batra started IVF clinic by the name High Tech Clinic in Jalandhar, but due to pressure of work, closed it after 5 years. During this time, she also conducted a hysteroscopy workshop, the first of its kind, where we had all witnessed TCRE done by Dr. Rakesh Sinha. She worked hard all her life for the welfare of the patients, and patients felt that she was always available. I think that's a very big thing for any doctor, his or her availability. That really accounts for your success. And in the end, she says she's thankful to God who gave her all the energy to be there 24 hours on duty. Thank you so much, ma'am. That's such a beautiful line. Thank you. Give a big hand to her, and I would request you to stand up and give a standing ovation to Dr. Malvinder Kaur and Dr. S.K. Mahmud.
Now I request Dr. Sushma Chawla, Dr. Pramila Jindal, and Dr. Adarsh to escort Dr. M.W. Dr. Malvinder Kaur to the honor these two towering personalities, and a standing ovation by all the delegates. Let's begin now.
We are privileged to stand in front of you.
Women empowerment. Who says we are not empowered? तालियां बजती रहनी चाहिए. Dr. Navneet, please come.
I must say.
We know she is a dynamic lady and has wonderful presence of our society. She is more time fully dedicated to this IMS society. She is a good academician and a good teacher. We have seen her since yesterday. Now I request Dr. Sona to start her talk. Gopi.
Good afternoon once again. Thank you, Dr. Suji, for the kind introduction. I indeed feel honored that I have been asked to deliver this oration. When I was talking to Dr. Suji, I said, I want to take lessons from the senior most members from your society, and she mentioned two names, Dr. Malvinder Kaur and Dr. Mangar. So, I personally really owe a lot to my gurus, and I always bow to them before I do any surgery or any endeavor I take their blessings. I come from city of Mumbai, board of Lord Siddhivinayaka, Siddhivinaya. This oration is dedicated to the senior members, Dr. Malvinder Kaur and Dr. Mangal. The topic given by me, you can say, or given by Suji, is sarcopenia, which is relevant to the theme of today's conference, that is musculoskeletal health. So I will touch upon a little bit of musculoskeletal health. So musculoskeletal disorders, what is the scope of these disorders? According to the 2011 consensus statement, total population 1.21 billion, women 586.47 million, that is 48.46% women are there, and life expectancy at birth for females is projected to be 72.3 years, leading to a rise in number of postmenopausal women. So, with growing elderly population, with increasing longevity in India, postmenopausal musculoskeletal disorder is emerging as one of the major public health issues. You can see 10% above 50 years, 22% above 50 years in 2025. From today's figures, it will go to 22%, and in 2050, it will go to 33%. So you can imagine with what magnitude the problem is going to come up. Now, how is menopause and bone mass related? Menopausal transition leads to changes in physiological functions due to age as well as decreasing gonadal hormones. Therefore, compared to men of the same age, women suffer accelerated loss in bone mass density, muscle mass and muscle strength. So if you can see in the graph, the women and men differ around the time of menopause. There is a difference in the suffering of musculoskeletal disorders. What are the various modifiable and non-modifiable risk factors associated with bone and muscle health? There are certain modifiable risk factors like alcohol intake, smoking, low body mass index, low calcium intake, vitamin D deficiency, insufficient physical activity, frequent falls. And non-modifiable risk factors would be gender, which we really can't change, age, family history, previous fracture, race or ethnicity, onset of menopause. All of us know that early menopause poses great risk for such diseases in women. History of hysterectomy, and many of the women, I don't know what is the situation in Jalandhar, but there are so many cities where majority of the women lose their uteri by the time they finish their childbearing. I won't even say that reach 30 or 35, they finish their childbearing. If they have little amenorrhea or menorrhagia here and there, the uterus is removed by the ill-informed practitioners, and we are here to change that trend because we are concerned about the not only musculoskeletal health but the overall health of women, because these early hysterectomies will lead to early menopause, because if just 3-4 years after the hysterectomy, even if ovaries are conserved, the ovaries start decreasing their function. So it is very important to save uterus to save lives. So it is not only save ovaries, but I go one step ahead and say save uterus. So don't have early hysterectomies, unnecessary hysterectomies. So there are certain factors which will improve musculoskeletal health with regular consumption of soya, almond, fish, fruits, milk, calcium, supplementation with vitamin D and protein intake. All these will improve the health of musculoskeletal tissues. Whereas the factors which negatively influence osteoporosis, especially late menarche, early menopause before age of 45, postmenopausal for more than 5 years, and multiparity more than 3 pregnancies will adversely affect the bone density. What are the common musculoskeletal disorders among Indian postmenopausal women? It is osteoporosis, which has been identified, talked about, we have been discussing over so many years, but the sarcopenia is being identified and discussed, and it is the focus of current research and literature that is coming up. Osteoarthritis is again the age-old musculoskeletal disorder which affects women of middle age. So all these are important to know because they all lead finally to frailty and falls and fractures. And this is what we have to prevent by maintaining musculoskeletal health of our women. What is sarcopenia? Sarcopenia is defined as the loss of muscle mass and function associated with aging. I'm sure all of you must have noticed yourself that what kind of muscle mass you had when you were young and what muscle mass you have now has certainly decreased, and it is not only the muscle mass, even the power, the way you move around, the way you climb the stairs, and so many routine activities, you will notice that yes, the muscle mass is decreased. So if the muscle mass decreases with only associated with aging, and of course more so around the time of menopause, because both the tissues, the bone as well as the muscle, have identified estrogen receptors. So when there is a menopause, these estrogen, lack of estrogen affects both the bone as well as the muscles. Cachexia is defined as weight loss due to an underlying illness, cancer, tuberculosis, or any other serious chronic illness which will bring out the loss of muscle mass and fat and even the bone mass, which is cachexia. Both are muscle wasting disorders of particular relevance in the aging population, but they go largely unrecognized. By the year 2050, which already we saw, individuals over the age of 65 years will comprise 20% of the US population, 4.3% will be more than 85 years of age, associated with increased dependence, frailty and mortality. There are certain other terminologies which need to be looked at. What is osteoporosis? It is a both combination of, when both exist together, we see sarco-osteoporosis. When we say a term sarco-obesity and frailty, which we are going to define little later, sarco-obesity is the condition where the muscle mass reduces and that much muscle mass gets replaced by fat, adipose tissue. So it's a combined sarco-obesity, sarcopenia, it's purely muscle mass loss. Sarco-osteoporosis is both the muscle as well as bones. So the operational definition of sarcopenia can either be based on the measurement of muscle mass alone or combining measures of muscle mass, strength and physical performance. It's not just the mass. If you were meant to measure the circumference, and that is not there, but operational definition includes even combining measures of mass, strength and physical performance. At around the fourth decade of life, decline occurs in muscle mass and strength. This decline accelerates with advancing age. So the consensus definition of sarcopenia by European Working Group on Sarcopenia Osteoporosis are of appendicular skeletal mass index less, that is ASMI, of less than 5.5 kg per meter square is the acceptable definition in a more objective manner. What are the stages of sarcopenia? There can be pre-sarcopenia, there can be sarcopenia and severe sarcopenia. The same group suggests the conceptual this staging, which is rather conceptual because there is nothing that we can identify as a pre-sarcopenia before it happens. Can we identify? Actually, it's a matter of research, but we can't really say. But definitely there exists some stage where there is risk factors which bring about low muscle mass. They already exist, and that may be perhaps pre-sarcopenic stage. And the reflects staging is important because it reflects the severity of the condition, helps in selecting treatment and setting recovery goals, and supports the design of various research studies. So this is one of our patients, 89-year-old, even though it is not very relevant for menopausal age, but as these menopausal women go ahead and have aging in addition, these women, if they have severe lack of estrogen, then go ahead with aging added factor at age of 86-year-old. You can definitely see the muscle mass over here, which is normal. This is a CT scan image of diagnosis of sarcopenia in Bombay Hospital. We have one such case. Pathology of sarcopenia. It is characterized by atrophy of muscle fibers, especially type 2 fibers, by decreased number of motor units as well as by accumulation of fat within the muscles. So this is the pathophysiology of sarcopenia. Various factors affect the occurrence of sarcopenia which bring about decrease in muscle mass as well as strength. There is a definite genetic influence. If you have mothers which are sarcopenic, maybe you are at a higher risk. Then immobility, other mechanisms like apoptosis, mitochondrial dysfunctions, endocrine factors. IGF-1 is the most significant factor. Decreased sex steroids, insulin resistance will all contribute. Muscle fiber atrophy, neurodegenerative processes, and decreased protein synthesis. And most important would be nutritional status and decreased protein and energy intake will lead to sarcopenia. Now there are certain elements which bring about atrophy, and there are certain elements which build the muscle. The myostatin is the element or the chemical which is secreted, which causes other atrophy-related genes. It causes protein degradation and adds to sarcopenia. Protein synthesis is under control of IGF-1, insulin, exercise, testosterone. All these things will build the proteins and the muscle, and it will build the muscle mass. And inactivity, inflammation will, through all these complicated pathways, bring about protein degradation and bring about muscle wasting. So again we go back to the same which I think Dr. Sushma Chawla and Dr. Maninder are promoting all these years, and they are themselves example of, if you continue to exercise, how well she danced so beautifully yesterday. The coordination of muscles was so wonderful. It can't happen because see, if you hadn't done that, the perfect coordination of muscles can't happen because the power, performance, everything is related to that. I think she is a live example for that. Now, screening for sarcopenia, the group people guidelines say that those who are bedbound, those who are non-ambulatory, unable to rise, there are many women. Sometimes I also start feeling, because when I was climbing up this stair, I was finding it a little difficult. It's a too high a step. So, unable to rise from a sitting position, unassisted. I'm sure many of you must have experienced when you're sitting down, it's not easy to get up immediately with age and with after menopause. So history of weight loss more than 5%, noted or reported decline in function and strength, history of recurrent falls. Be aware, is she sarcopenic? Because her muscles don't have that kind of strength to support her gait. At times, even with a trivial this thing, she will fall and she may even end up in a fracture if her bones are also weak. After hospitalization, comorbidities associated with loss of muscle mass like diabetes mellitus, congestive heart failure, chronic kidney disease, all this will lead to decrease. These women should undergo screening for sarcopenia. When women have gait speed less than 0.8 meter per second in over 4 meters, I think that is the time when you should suspect anything. These are the various diagnostic criteria for sarcopenia. You can have muscle mass anthropometry, but it's not very recommended because it is variable. Bioimpedance analysis. Then we have different